Masticate. On February 21st, during 5th period, somebody locked my friend Jason in a closet in my school's basement. That night, he was admitted to NMCH's psychiatric ward. By the time his parents realized he never came home from band practice, he'd been trapped in that basement for nearly 5 hours. Nobody talks much about what happened anymore. At first, it spread through school like wildfire. Rumors, conspiracies. Some people claimed he'd had a panic attack. Others said somebody slipped drugs into his drink. One kid swore Jason had scratched his own face trying to claw his way out. But the truth was worse. I saw him after they found him. He sat curled in the corner of that closet with his knees against his chest and his hands clamped over his ears so tightly his fingernails cut into his skin. Even when the custodian opened the door, Jason wouldn't move. Wouldn't look at anybody. He just kept trembling and crying softly into his legs like a terrified child. When his mum tried to touch him, he screamed. Not yelled, screamed. A raw animal sound so full of panic, it made the custodian stumble backward. They sedated him before the ambulance could move him. He's barely spoken since. The doctors call it trauma-induced catatonia caused by undiagnosed claustrophobia. That's bullshit. Jason loved tight spaces. We grew up binging cave horror movies together. The Descent. As above, so below. Cheap found footage garbage where people crawled through tunnels barely wider than their shoulders while monsters stalked them underground. Jason loved all of it. He once told me he wanted to go spelunking after graduation. Undiagnosed claustrophobia, my ass. So 7 days later, I went to the school myself. Our school wasn't one of those rich suburban campuses with guards and cameras everywhere. Half the side doors barely latched properly. The custodian smoked behind the gym and propped open the basement entrance with a bucket. Getting inside took less than 30 seconds. The basement felt colder than the rest of the building. The overhead lights buzzed weakly above the boiler room, casting long shadows across the concrete floor. Dust coated the corners. Old pipes rattled overhead. And there, tucked against the far wall, sat the closet. Plain wooden door, tiny metal placard. Supply. That was it. No lock, no damage, nothing remotely threatening. I walked over slowly and examined the knob myself. Still no lock. I frowned. How the hell had someone trapped Jason inside? The closer I got, the more uneasy I felt. My stomach twisted, like something inside me was trying to pull backward. Still, I opened the door. Just a closet. Mops, buckets, cleaning chemicals, shelves lined with paper towels and dusty supplies. A pull-string light bulb hung overhead. I almost laughed from relief. Then I noticed the corner. One spot of the floor had been scrubbed cleaner than the rest. That rumor about Jason pissing himself suddenly felt a lot more believable. Trying to shake off the growing dread crawling through me, I stepped inside. The light immediately shut off. I flinched and yanked the cord again. Nothing. Then the basement light outside dimmed. I turned just in time to watch the door slowly swing shut. Click. Darkness swallowed the room. My chest tightened instantly. I lunged for the knob and twisted hard. Another click echoed from the other side of the door. A lock. Except there wasn't supposed to be one. My phone flashlight flicked on for half a second before dying completely. Not low battery. Dead. The darkness felt thick after that. Heavy, like standing underwater. Then the smell hit me. Rotting meat. Not old garbage. Not mildew. Fresh rot. The kind of smell roadkill gets after baking in the summer sun. Something behind me inhaled. The breath sounded wet. Huge lungs, dragging air through fluid-filled flesh. I froze. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to run. But there was nowhere to go. Another breath rolled across the back of my neck. It was standing directly behind me. I couldn't hear footsteps. Couldn't hear movement. Just breathing. Then came the teeth. Hundreds of tiny clicking noises, opening and shutting inside the darkness. And then it spoke. The words weren't human. At first they sounded like whispers layered over each other. Too many voices speaking at once. Some high, some low, some wet and gargling like they were drowning. But underneath all of it, I understood. Not the language, the meaning. Hunger. That was all it cared about. An endless, unbearable hunger pressing against my thoughts until my stomach cramped, painfully. I dropped to my knees and covered my ears. The voices stayed. Not outside my head anymore. Inside. Sliding through my thoughts like maggots. I started crying. I don't even remember deciding to cry. It just happened. The thing behind me leaned closer. Its breath rolled across my skin so hot and rotten, I nearly vomited. Then something touched the back of my neck. A tongue. Massive. Wet. It slowly dragged upward across my skin before retreating into the darkness. I blacked out screaming. I dreamed while I was unconscious, dreamed of teeth tearing through meat, dreamed of gnawing hunger so painful it felt holy, and the voices kept whispering, "Eat, eat, eat." When I woke up, I was in my bed at home. My clothes were gone. My sheets were soaked with sweat and piss. For hours, I convinced myself it had all been a nightmare, until lunch at school the next day. I ate my packed lunch, then bought a second lunch, then stole chips from somebody's tray because I still felt starving. But every time I thought about food, I smelled rot. That same rotten smell from the closet. And underneath it, I heard the whispering again. By sixth period, I knew I had to go back. Not because I wanted answers, because something inside me wanted back into that basement. So that night, I returned. The moment I stepped downstairs, I heard voices near the boiler room. 2 boys, laughing. I heard he pissed himself. One of them snickered. The other laughed harder. Shouldn't have been snooping around down here. My grip tightened around the cinder block I'd brought to prop the door open. These were the kids who locked Jason inside. Then, the lights exploded overhead. Darkness swallowed the basement. The rotten smell flooded the air instantly. The whispering returned louder than ever, not from the closet, from everywhere. The thing was here, and now I understood it. Jason wasn't broken because he saw a monster. Jason broke because the monster tried to feed through him. But Jason resisted. I could feel its disappointment, its hunger, its rage. The voices chattered excitedly inside my skull as I stared toward the boys stumbling blindly through the dark. One of them laughed nervously. "Dude, quit screwing around." The thing behind me inhaled deeply, and I realized the horrible truth. It couldn't hunt on its own. It needed someone to feed it, needed someone to hear it, to understand it. The cinder block suddenly felt very heavy in my hands, and the whispering became a song. Hungry, so hungry. We could help it. We should help it. I started walking toward the sound of their voices, and somewhere in the darkness behind me, thousands of teeth began clicking happily together.